Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is TRG. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the unspoken truth behind friendships and money, and why that's relatable to you. Also, the 3 rules. We're going to be talking about how to safeguard yourself as well as safeguard your friendship so that it doesn't end up broken. If you like this topic or you like this channel, please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel grow. Now on to the rest of the video. Okay, so number 1 rule, and we've all been there before, where friends ask you for money. They try to hit you up for something because something happened, and it could be all legitimate, but nevertheless, it's friends or family that ask you for money and puts you in this weird predicament. We're always very sensitive about how we spend our money and how we lend out our money because we work hard for it. And for most of us on this planet, there's a finite amount, and it's a finite amount of resources that can buy a lot of things. So when it comes to that decision tree, that's the number 1 rule. You have to make a decision on whether you're going to say yes or no. So if it's a no, then okay, that's a pretty, blunt or stern no. But if you're going to say yes, you need to prepare yourself for something. You need to prepare yourself for losing all of that money that you lent. Okay? That is my first rule, and a rule that I've stuck by for quite a long time, and it's worked out pretty well for me. It's not because the friend that you're lending out the money to is a deadbeat or not responsible or whatever that might be, but they are probably most likely asking you for money because they're incapable of paying you at that particular time in their life. And that could be for many different scenarios, but nevertheless, their ability to pay you back is probably nil to 0. I don't want you to get your hopes up in expectations that that's going to happen. Some people pull it together and they get on their feet, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Just witnessing what has happened in my life with my friends and family and anyone that's hit me up with money. If you think about it, why would they be coming to you if they were capable of earning that money themselves, right? There has to be some kind of circumstances that have happened to be able to achieve that. So number 1 rule, decision tree, you really got to decide pretty quickly, yes or no. And if the answer is yes, be prepared to let go of all that wealth, because that is 9 times out of 10 from my experience what is going to happen. And if it's a no, stick to your guns. That's what you're about. Okay, cool. Some other scenarios that I thought of with that is just the fact that I think inherently people are pretty good in nature. They just don't have the capability of paying you back, or things get lost in the sauce where they prioritize other things that might be deemed as more important to them than paying you back. And that's pretty hurtful considering you're going out on a limb to lend someone money. I'm not saying don't be generous with your wealth and your resources and your time, but there are other ways that you can help your friends. And if you decide to lend out money, then good for you. That's great. You're being generous. I've done that in my time before. But understand that most likely that wealth is gone. You need to prepare that $3,000 is just pretty much going to go to your friend as a gift, and you're never going to see it again. And if you do see it again, then that's amazing. Okay, cool. Number 2, contracts. So this might seem very bold and forward and very, buttoned up, shall we say. But the reason why I mention about contracts, no matter how big or small the amount of money is, if you're going to decide to lend your friend, this amount of money, and they're promising you that they're going to pay you back, this frames the conversation in a more serious way. When you guys actually write down some kind of agreement, the terms of paying back, the frequency in which that's going to be paid back, if there's going to be any interest, obviously, tacked onto that. I guess most of the time, if you're lending it to a friend, you're probably not going to charge them, or maybe you will. That's really entirely up to between you and your friend. But also severity of it, right? So this document isn't meant for you to run to a lawyer to sue your friend or anything like that. It's more so that your friend understands, okay, this is a serious thing that I'm engaging in, and I'm trusting you with this. But in order to gain that trust, I need something back from you. And that is a signed agreement that you're going to pay me back in due course, right? When you get back on your feet, when you make enough money. And I don't just mean by a signed piece of paper, I actually mean actionable things that happen behind that. So, for example, um, whatever they can afford, 50 bucks a week, 50 bucks a paycheck, you know, auto withdrawn from their account and direct deposited into your account. Okay. I'm in the frequency of like 2 weeks. If you don't, if you don't set up these kind of rules, then people will forget. The onus and the responsibility won't be on that person to pay you back. Sometimes no fault of their own. Maybe they just forgot about things and they decided to buy other things that were critical to them. And that 50 bucks wasn't really garnished from their wages in order to settle your debt. Okay. So I think it's a really good thing to have some kind of framework of a contract in place so that you guys know where you stand with that. And some people might think that I'm being really harsh, but when it comes to money, you really have to put in framework that makes you comfortable as well. So it's not just about, hey, give, give, give. It's also about what am I comfortable with giving on what terms, right? And you have to satisfy your own mental and your heart when you're doing things like that, or else you could get taken advantage of. Also, you could just be betraying yourself and kind of your set of boundaries. And then that's my third point, boundaries. So tip number 3 is boundaries. Really important that you set ground rules with your friends about where you stand with these things if they ask you for money. Okay, so you don't have to openly go on a megaphone and start blaring that you're not going to lend anything to anyone. That's not the point of this conversation. But it's also not the point of the conversation to shy away from what makes you feel safe and comfortable. After all, someone is asking for your hard-earned money. It's not the other way around. So please be, I think there needs to be some kind of understanding that, for example, I'm very clear with people that ask me for money. I've had a couple overseas friends that have asked me for money when they've been in jams, and I've literally said no, like flat out. Like I was very, very clear about it. I said no. They've asked me again, and I've said no. And my rationale behind that wasn't so much to be a Scrooge McDuck or anything like that, or their inability to pay me back. It was more so that I have gone down this money road before, and I did not want to jeopardize my friendship because of that money. I really didn't. Like, I've seen it get bad on both sides, by the way. I'm guilty of it as well. And, even a little amount of money can destroy friendships. I've seen it. It can destroy families. So I'd rather remove that from the equation and make sure that there's no any kind of like false pretenses or like false expectations between two parties, and just have a very clean friendship rather than involve all these outside elements where now you feel bad, they feel bad, it just gets in a huge mess and no one's happy by the end of it. Okay. So if you liked my video, I know that was a pretty short one, but if you liked my video and you like this content, please like, comment, subscribe. I made this topic because honestly, I've faced this uphill on many different occasions. I've been on the other side of it, asking people for money as well. And I don't think that although I try my best to do the honorable thing, sometimes it's not intentional if I didn't do the best thing in that situation for the other person, not necessarily for myself. And I see that now as I'm older and I kind of look back at some of those situations, but I never want you to be in the position where, I was sometimes the giver of money and then sometimes the receiver of money. And that's just a very, very awkward thing to kind of put your friend through and also put yourself through. So that's part of the reason why I made this video. Hopefully some of my experiences I shared with you resonate with you. I would love to hear in the comments below if you've lent money out to people and what your experience has been like, because everyone's experience is going to be different. But normally I hear more horror stories than good stories. So share whatever stories you want in the comments below, and stay tuned for more content. I hope to post every day of the week. That's my goal, and I'm trying to keep up with that pace. So thank you so much for your patience. I know that some of these videos obviously aren't edited right now because I just don't have a video editor. So I appreciate if you've even bothered to click on this and listen to what I have to say to the end. God bless you. Um, and yeah, I hope to get you better and better content as we go along. If you have any questions for me, you can obviously hit me up on my email as well as leave a comment below. I like to read all comments, or I try to do if there are any, and respond to them. Thank you so much. Please follow these steps. I think that it'll just make you a lot better in terms of your friendship and relationship with money. Take care. Have a good day. Bye, guys. Ciao.